The wind shrieked across the frozen wasteland, dragging flurries of snow like clawed hands across the scorched earth. Blackened husks of human outposts jutted from the ice like broken teeth, torn apart bunkers, shattered comms dishes, and the charred skeletons of once proud machinery. The Dominion patrols walked among the ruins with casual arrogance, their exo-armor gleaming against the storm. Victory was theirs. Again, Captain Threx, a highborn tactician of the Galactic Dominion's Kexer caste, surveyed the devastation from atop a hovering scout platform. His mandibles twitched with mild amusement as he watched his soldiers poke through wreckage, scanning for survivors or salvageable tech. They resist, he said, mostly to himself, but they remain so quaint. Lieutenant Zelrak, his adjutant, gestured toward a mound of snow that half-covered a rusting, rectangular object. Captain, another one of their relics. We believe it to be a wheeled weapon of some sort. Threx floated closer, lowering his platform. More human nostalgia. A squad of Dominion soldiers cleared the ice, revealing the hulking form of a dormant M1A2 Abrams battle tank. Its once camouflage plating was worn down to matte gray steel, its main gun pitted with age. Vines of cracked wire and frostbitten paint snaked across its turret. A human flag, half-burned, was still painted on the side. Threx gave a dismissive chitter. A primitive cannon vehicle. No energy coils, no neural mesh, no AI interfaces. How charmingly prehistoric. The others laughed, a chorus of filtered clicks and rasping hisses. One soldier climbed atop the tank and pounded its hatch. Open up, beast of iron. The war ended without you. More laughter. Zelrak stepped forward, shaking his narrow head. There's no power core, no movement. Probably hasn't worked in centuries. I wonder, Threx mused, scanning the tank with his arm-mounted display. Their obsession with wheels, with combustion, with fire, it's as if they refuse to evolve. And yet, Zelrak added with a flicker of hesitation, they delayed our expansion for nearly 2 planetary cycles. Delay is not defiance, Threx replied. They are animals with rifles. Their resistance is a tantrum before extinction. Movement on the horizon froze them. Through the white haze, a figure emerged, slow, deliberate. Alone, the Dominion soldiers snapped to attention, weapons raised. Thermal scans flickered with weak signatures. The figure walked with purpose, a heavy winter coat dragging behind like a cape, its shoulders broad, gait unhurried. A human, bareheaded in the snow, dark hair swept back in tangled mats. His face was marked by lines that spoke of years in fire and ice. He stopped 20 meters from the group and raised his hands. Easy, he said, voice low and calm. Not here to make trouble. The soldiers surrounded him instantly, rifles trained. One stepped forward and slammed a gauntlet fist into the man's stomach. He grunted, but didn't fall. Threx floated forward. You must be the last of this outpost. Guess I drew the short straw, the man replied. Name's Callan Shaw. Sergeant. Earthborn. Threx's brow ridges twitched in recognition. Your kind clings to names as though they matter. Tell me, Sergeant Shaw, did you stay behind to die with your relics? Shaw's eyes flicked to the tank, then back to Threx. That relic held this valley for 2 months. Against 5 of your dropships. A lie, Zelrak snapped. Your weapon systems are outdated. Your armor has no shields. Your propulsion is chemical. Shaw smirked. Yeah, and yours is glass. The soldiers tensed. Threx studied him for a moment. You're unarmed. You walked into our hands willingly. What? Shaw shrugged. Figure it was time. You've got numbers. Ships. Drones. Thought maybe I'd get a warm meal before the execution. You're stalling, Threx said coldly. Or maybe I just wanted a front row seat. To what? Shaw didn't answer. Instead, He slowly turned his head toward the M1A2. A faint sound pierced the wind, a low mechanical groan, followed by the deep, unmistakable cough of an engine coming to life. The Dominion soldiers jerked around, weapons raised. "What is that?" Zelrak barked. Was it not inert? The tank shuddered. Tracks shifted. Snow poured off its frame in cascades. The turret creaked, then snapped with lethal precision toward the nearest Dominion walker. "Impossible," Threx muttered. "It has no course signature. No AI presence." Inside the Abrams, gears locked into place. Hydraulics hissed. A targeting system powered up, casting a red glow behind the narrow sight slits. A burst of flame erupted from its main gun. The walker didn't even scream. It vanished in a plume of fire and shrapnel. Panic rippled through the Dominion ranks. Soldiers scrambled for cover, shouting coordinates and orders. Plasma bolts lit the snow with blue light, sizzling against the tank's front armor, doing nothing. The Abrams advanced. Threx's platform lifted higher, retreating instinctively. This is not possible. That thing is centuries obsolete. "It's got steel bones and a dragon's heart," Shaw said quietly. He was moving, fast now, weaving between his enemies with impossible confidence. A Dominion soldier lunged. Shaw ducked under the strike and snapped the alien's knee backward with a single blow. Another came from the side, and Shaw drove a knife into its throat, twisting. He wasn't just surviving. He was a predator. "Where's its control signal?" Zelrak shouted. "It's not autonomous. Where's the pilot?" Shaw's voice cut through the chaos like a blade. "She doesn't need a pilot." The tank rolled through the storm, crushing snow and metal alike. Its coaxial gun lit up, spraying tungsten rounds through shielded Dominion armor like it was paper. One alien screamed into the comms. "It's alive. The machine is alive." Behind Shaw, the tank paused. Turret locked. Barrel aimed skyward. It fired. The Dominion's forward comm tower, perched on the cliff above, exploded, raining twisted debris into the canyon. Threx watched it fall, his composure cracking. This is not warfare. This is madness." Shaw turned to him, breathing hard. Snow clung to his coat. Blood flecked his jaw. "We warned you," he said, stepping closer. "You saw our fleets, our cities, our tech. You thought that was us at our best." He gestured toward the tank, now idling like a patient beast. "But this is us when we're cornered." The snow howled. The Abrams stood motionless, its cannon pointed straight at Threx's platform. He stared at it, frozen. Shaw gave a low whistle, and the tank's engine rumbled again, like it was hungry. "You came here thinking we were weak," Shaw said, voice cold and steady. "You laughed at what we used to fight. But here's the thing about humans, Captain. We don't throw our monsters away. We bury them, deep, until we need them again." The wind kicked up, shrouding the field in ice. Threx opened his mouth to speak. The tank roared forward, and the Dominion's arrogance shattered beneath its treads. The silence that followed was not peace. The battlefield steamed as ice met fire, as alien blood hissed into the snowdrifts. The M1A2 tank rumbled low, its engine idling like a threat unspoken. Sergeant Callan Shaw stood beside it, breath misting in the cold, eyes sweeping the broken forms of the Dominion strike team. Not a single one had remained standing, except Threx. The captain's hover platform had crashed during the final charge, its underside sheared off by a glancing shell. Now he limped through the wreckage, one arm sparking from a severed joint, chitinous armor cracked. He stumbled, fell, and clawed his way upright with all the dignity of a once-feared predator learning fear for the first time. Shaw stepped toward him, his boots crunching on charred snow. The tank rolled slowly behind him, a sentinel without command. You breathe fast, Shaw said. Is that fear? Threx turned, yellow eyes narrowing. You think you've won something? Not everything, Shaw admitted, but enough to make you crawl. The alien coughed, a wet sound that rattled in his mandibles. One machine, one ghost of soldier. You won't stop what's coming. Shaw's gaze darkened. You already brought what's coming. A faint buzz broke the moment. Static over an old radio unit mounted on the tank's rear hull. Shaw turned. That's not possible. He climbed onto the tank, cracked the external panel, and pulled out the rusted handset. The signal came again, a broken hiss, then a voice. Sawyer, base command. Anyone receiving priority. Repeat, this is Sawyer. If anyone's alive out there, respond. Shaw stared. That voice hadn't echoed over a military frequency in months. Maybe longer. He keyed the mic. Sawyer base, this is Sergeant Callan Shaw. I'm alive. Repeat, alive and in hostile territory. Dominion forces engaged and eliminated at Outpost Sigma. A pause. Then, Shaw. Sergeant Shaw. Jesus, we thought you were Kia. Yeah, well, he said, glancing at the tank. Death's got a backlog. Listen, Shaw, we've got bigger problems. Dominion cruisers are moving east, sweeping survivors into a kill box. We don't know what they're clearing the land for, but it's not reclamation. We think they're building something. Something permanent. Shaw's jaw clenched. Coordinates? The voice rattled back. Grid Delta 9, near what's left of the canyon route. Terrain's unstable. If they dig in there, they won't, Shaw said flatly. How many humans still breathing? Scattered. Dozens. Maybe 100 if we count civilians. Not enough. And no armor, no heavy guns. Everything's gone. Shaw glanced over his shoulder. The Abrams turret adjusted, as if it had heard. You're wrong, Shaw said. We've got one left. The signal cracked again, then fell silent. He lowered the mic, expression grim. Threx laughed, choked, wet, but laughter all the same. You think that thing will carry your species on its back? Shaw didn't answer. He simply climbed back down, eyes fixed on the horizon. No, it'll carry me. That's enough. Behind him, the tank revved louder, like it agreed. They left Threx alive, in the snow, broken and watching as the last ghost of Earth's armored fury moved into the storm. The sun never rose over the Dominion's occupied territories, just a dull smear of gray through permanent cloud. As Shaw navigated the cracked remnants of ancient highways, the tank beside him moved with deliberate grace. Its systems were patched together, analog and digital, old code welded with gut instinct. It shouldn't have worked, but it did. The tank had no pilot. Not anymore. He remembered her name. Chief Warrant Officer Lena Hart. Tank Commander. The best he'd ever met. Sharp, unsentimental, smart enough to hotwire a satellite dish with chewing gum and a spark plug. She died in that turret 2 years ago. Or maybe she didn't. Maybe something else happened. No one could explain why her systems activated after lying dead for so long. Why the gun turned on the Dominion with precision and fury. No one ever would. But Shaw didn't need to understand it. He just had to point in the right direction. They hit the outer edge of Delta 9 by dusk. Smoke spiraled in black threads into the sky. The Dominion wasn't hiding anymore. Their ships had landed in neat, predatory rows. Massive wedge-shaped constructs, scarred with alien glyphs and bristling with artillery. Drones circled like carrion. Their outposts were already digging, massive drills humming through layers of permafrost and stone. Shaw knelt in the rocks, scanning with a pair of cracked binoculars. Too many. This wasn't just a forward base. This was a foundation. Behind him, the tank clicked as if impatient. He rested a hand against its cold plating. Not yet. He circled wide, ducking low, silent through the underbrush. Found the perimeter. Dominion guards, less armored than Threx's elite, walked lazy circuits around generator hubs. Shaw counted steps. Time blinks. Waited until one turned just far enough. Then he moved. The knife slid in beneath the creature's jaw, finding the soft space where breathing met speech. No sound, just a stumble and silence. He pulled the corpse into the brush, swapped armor plates, fitted the Dominion's visor onto his face. Too small, too stiff, but enough. The second guard didn't even look up when Shaw approached. A snap neck fixed that. He was in. The base pulsed with artificial light. Dominion workers moved with insectoid rhythm, efficient, mindless. Machines tore at the earth with surgical hunger. Deep drills, seismic sensors, subterranean mappers. This wasn't a fortress. It was an excavation. They were looking for something. He ducked into a controlled tent. Alien tech wired into stolen human consoles. Monitors flickered with seismic readouts. One chart caught his eye. Depth, 300 meters. Mass signature, unknown. Shape, angular. Energy reading, none. Yet, he stared. Something was buried beneath Delta 9. Something old. The tank wasn't the only ghost in the dirt. Shaw left before the realization could take hold. Slipped back through the shadows, climbed the ridge, and dropped beside the waiting M1A2. Its lights glowed faint red now. "Hope you're ready, Lena," he whispered. The tank shifted. He opened the storage hatch, still packed with tools, shells, even a few intact rockets. Enough to make noise. Not a war, but a statement. He climbed atop the turret and stared down into the storm-swept valley. This would be a short ride, but it would be loud. He raised the comm Sawyer. "I've located the dig site. Dominion's building over something. Something they want kept buried. Do you have eyes on it?" "Not yet, but I got explosives. And a ride." "Shaw, you can't go in alone." "I'm not." He patted the tank. "We're bringing history with us." And then he gave the order. The M1A2 surged forward. Below, the Dominion's excavation crews heard the roar long before they saw it. They turned as one, eyes widening, jaws parting with disbelief as a relic of a dead army came charging through the dusk. The first shell struck hard. The second hit home. By the time the Dominion sounded an alert, Shaw and his armored partner were already in the heart of the storm. The ground trembled beneath the tank's treads as it barreled into the Dominion's excavation zone, spitting fire and steel. Shaw crouched atop the turret, eyes narrowed against the swirling ash and smoke, his weapon locked tight in his arms. The Abrams howled like something alive, not mechanical, a beast risen from burial to wreak vengeance. Its turret spun, barked once, and a Dominion crawler exploded in a shower of obsidian shrapnel. Panic rippled through the alien ranks. Shaw watched it unfold. Disciplined formations breaking, drone handlers scrambling to recalibrate their automatons, and overseers shrieking into comms in 3 dialects. They had no frame of reference for this kind of fury. Their war was algorithmic, measured, efficient. This was chaos, pure and human. He slammed the radio key again. "Sawyer, Shaw, Dominion's site is in full retreat. No defensive cohesion. They weren't expecting a frontal push. Static." "Then, you're insane." "Been called worse," he replied, just as the Abrams swung left and flattened a portable barracks beneath 60 tons of resurrected American armor. He jumped down from the turret as the tank pushed deeper, firing in short, brutal bursts. He moved alongside it, a shadow to its thunder. Rounds sizzled past him, plasma bolts humming with deadly speed. One scorched a line across his shoulder, and pain bloomed, but he didn't stop. Pain was old news. He ducked into a shattered control node and jammed a Dominion interface plug into a makeshift tablet. Their encryption was sloppy, too confident in their technology. Within seconds, he accessed the dig schematic. The thing buried beneath them wasn't just a structure. It was a vault, shaped like a cruciform, buried at an unnatural angle. It radiated no energy, but had triggered Dominion probes to retask their fleet's direction here. The schematics labeled it only as Deep Relic Zeta. He stared at the rough model of it. 3 spires converging underground, with a central chamber at its heart. Something about its symmetry looked familiar. Not in the design, but in the intent. It was defensive. It was hiding something. Another explosion rattled the dirt. The Abrams had drawn fire from the southern flank, where heavier Dominion gunships now screamed in from low orbit. One of them circled with sleek wings and dropped a kinetic rod into the trench line, sending up a geyser of rock and flame. The tank weathered the blast, half covered in dust, its outer shell blistered but unbowed. "Lena," he muttered under his breath. "You stubborn bastard." The tank's cannon snapped upward, tracked the descending gunship, and fired. Direct hit. The vessel dropped like a stone, engines belching fire before it clipped a generator stack and erupted in a second blast that painted the sky with its wreckage. Shaw blinked sweat from his eyes and pushed deeper into the base. The tablet still showed the vault's approximate position. Only 60 meters from where he stood, just past the defensive curtain of auto turrets, now spinning into activation. Time to improvise. He pulled a satchel from the side compartment on the Abrams, packed with EMP grenades and old-school thermite charges. He toggled a frequency on the radio and spoke into the tank's receiver. "Lena, suppress grid point Echo 7. I'm making a run." A low growl of the engine answered. Then thunder. The Abrams fired a shell into the array of auto turrets, sending metal and optics scattering across the trench. The opening was brief but enough. Shaw sprinted forward, zigzagging through the devastation, heart hammering against his ribs. He reached the entry to the vault. A single door, smooth black, etched with alien sigils that pulsed faintly as if reacting to proximity. He pressed a charge against the seam. Stepped back. Counted. 3, 2, 1. The thermite licked through the seal like liquid fire, slicing through alloy and plating. When it burst inward, Shaw was already moving. Inside, the air was colder. Ancient. The tunnel sloped down into dim blue light. He advanced slowly, rifle raised, senses honed to the edge of nerve. He didn't know what he expected. Traps, maybe. A Dominion welcome party. But nothing came. Just silence. And then he found it. The chamber was circular. At its center stood a massive stone structure, unnatural, flawless in its geometry. Hovering above, it was an orb. Perfectly black, perfectly still. And behind it, he stopped. A figure. Not Dominion. Human. No, not quite. The figure was encased in a skeletal exoframe, cords trailing from its limbs into the walls. Its face was visible, pale, sharp-featured, female. Her eyes were closed, but her body rose and fell with shallow breath. Suspended in sleep, Shaw lowered his weapon, heart pounding. The readings had called this a relic. This wasn't tech. This was a person. He stepped forward, drawn by something he didn't understand. Then her eyes opened. He froze. They glowed faint blue, not with energy, but with purpose. Ancient and new all at once. "Sergeant Callan Shaw," she said. Her voice was clear, unmechanized. "You were late." His blood ran cold. "What are you?" She tilted her head. "A precaution, placed here by your kind long ago, before the stars turned hostile. A contingency in the event humanity fell silent." "You're human?" "I was. Now, I'm an echo. A weapon. One your ancestors prayed you'd never have to wake." Shaw glanced over his shoulder. The tremors from above had intensified. The Dominion wasn't retreating. They were regrouping. Reinforcements. Bigger ones. "You know what's coming?" She nodded. "And I know how to stop it. But I can't leave this chamber, not alone. He looked up at the orb. That thing holding you, it's a key and a lock. Destroy it, and I wake fully. But if I wake, I end. I don't understand. You don't have to. The tremors grew louder. Time was running out. He stepped back, finger hovering over the calm. Outside, the Abrams waited, barrel tracking the skies as new ships descended from the clouds. Choices weighed on him like stones. He keyed the mic. "Sawyer Base," he said, voice raw. "I found something. A woman. A weapon. Human. Or close. So she can end this." "What's the risk?" The voice came back. "She ends with it." A pause. "Your call, Shaw." He looked back at her. Those eyes, still and knowing. "I've watched everything I love burn," he said softly. "If this is our last card, I'll play it." He drew his pistol, aimed it at the orb. She didn't flinch. He pulled the trigger. The shot rang out like a bell. The orb cracked. Light spilled from the wound. The chamber trembled, and the woman closed her eyes and vanished. Not died, vanished. In her place, the air shimmered, and above, the Dominion ships began to fall from the sky. The sky fractured. Where once the Dominion's gunships carved menacing lines through the soot-colored clouds, now they fell like diseased birds. Engines trailing fire, holes collapsing inward under unseen pressure. Some exploded mid-air, shredded by forces that didn't obey the laws of physics Shaw understood. Others simply ceased functioning, turning to molten wreckage in seconds. Shaw stood outside the vault, rifle lowered, face lit by the infernal descent of an empire's pride. His breath misted in the sudden cold radiating from the chamber behind him. The orb was gone. So was the woman. No trace, no residue. Not even a heat signature on the scanner he'd jammed against the wall with a trembling hand. But she had done something. Something irreversible. Dominion communications were in chaos. His earpiece buzzed with overlapping frequencies. Alien dialects drowning each other out. Commanders barking conflicting orders. Tactical AIs screaming data corrections faster than their logic cores could process. Shaw didn't speak their language, but panic needed no translation. His voice crackled onto the Sawyer base net. "This is Sergeant Shaw. The vault has activated. Repeat, the vault is active. Dominion forces are losing air control." Sawyer's reply came back garbled. "Copy that. Visual confirmation from satellite feeds. Multiple carrier losses." "My God, what did you do?" "I woke a ghost," Shaw murmured. "And it's killing them." The Abrams tank groaned beside him, hull scorched, plating dented but still functional. Its hatch creaked open and a pale, bloodied figure emerged. Staff Sergeant Lena Quinn, defiant to the last breath. "You always find the worst places to survive in," she muttered, collapsing beside him against a scorched boulder. Blood streaked down her temple. One arm was limp, shoulder blackened from a near miss. "You should have stayed at the fallback point," Shaw said. "You should have died 3 missions ago. Yet here we are." He let out a weak chuckle, eyes fixed on the heavens. The Dominion fleet was retreating in disarray, several motherships igniting in the upper atmosphere. Something, whatever the woman had unleashed, was disrupting them on a fundamental level, like a counter-frequency that only targeted their tech. Or minds. "We did something big," he said. "No," Lena replied, eyes narrowing. "She did. We just pulled the trigger." A sharp whine cut through the tension. Both of them snapped upright, weapons raised. From the charred ridge above the excavation pit, a lone Dominion warform descended. Its legs were half-crushed, torso torn open, one optic dimmed. But it moved with purpose, dragging itself forward on clawed limbs like a wounded predator. It carried no visible weapon. Shaw aimed. Lena steadied beside him. But the war form didn't attack. It knelt. Then it spoke in broken, stuttering English, pulled from databanks never meant to use it conversationally. The vault was not for you. Not for humans. Not yet. Shaw stepped forward. You knew it was here? The Warform's head tilted. Yes. We monitored. Your species, primitive. Violent. But too close. You made noise in the dark. We sought to end the noise. You mean genocide? No, the machine's voice trembled, distortion bleeding through its vocalizer. Correction. We mean prevention. Lena frowned. You thought wiping us out was a mercy? You are an echo, it said. A shadow of what built that vault. What left her? We feared the return. Not of you, but of them. Shaw's stomach twisted. Who is she? He asked quietly. Memory, the Warform said. Weaponized. Failsafe. Final response. And now that she's awake? The Warform didn't answer. Instead, it slumped forward and shut down, its frame still sizzling with internal collapse. A silence settled again over the pit, broken only by the distant rumble of orbital debris crashing into the sea beyond the horizon. Shaw knelt beside the Dominion corpse, pressed a hand to the metal shell. Cold. He wasn't sure if what it said terrified him more than the vault itself. They weren't afraid of humans. They were afraid of what made humans. He looked at Lena. We were never alone. No, she replied. And the ones before us left a warning wrapped in a weapon. They knew something was coming. Shaw's radio crackled again. Sawyer to forward scout unit. Multiple Dominion landing ships withdrawing. Global drops have ceased. Their fleet is burning. I repeat, their fleet is... What the hell is? The feed went silent. Then static. Then a new voice, soft and crystalline. Not from Sawyer. Not from Earth. From inside his headset. They will return, it said. This is not victory. This is delay. Shaw ripped the earpiece out, heart hammering. The vault's doorway still glowed faintly, as if waiting. No longer a tomb. A threshold. Lena stood, wincing with the effort, blood drying on her face. We can't go back to the way things were, she said. The Dominion's broken, but not dead. And now we've lit a signal fire across the stars. Shaw nodded. Then we dig in. We prepare. The old world died the moment she opened her eyes. He turned to the vault one last time. The temperature dropped again. Not from cold, but the kind of silence that came before storms. In the distance, fires burned. The world had changed shape overnight. Not just Earth, the galaxy. Shaw exhaled and began walking toward the wrecked outpost, toward what remained of humanity's forces. Lena followed, rifle slung across her back. They didn't speak again. There were no words left for what they'd become. Above them, the stars watched, waiting,